Hey guys, what's up? This is Jesus Conde, and today we're going to be painting fairy wings. So we're going to be talking about the sketching process. We're going to be doing some cool highlights, chromatic aberration effects. At the end we're gonna put some sparkles on, and that's it. Let's do this. Okay guys, so the first thing we're going to do is making little sketches for the wings. So you can take any brush that you want, just make little doodles, little sketches, little drawings of the wings, anything detailed, just to get the overall idea and overall shape of the wings. I'm drawing something similar here, one from each other. Doesn't change it too much. Now I like this one, so I'm going to copy that one and put little lines on the top and the bottom, and this is my sketch. Okay, so the second step will be adding more detail to the sketch. So notice that I made this part a little bit thicker, and then I created some lines that go to the tips of the wings. Then I made some other lines that join where the wings break, like this little space here. And all this is because I need some kind of thick line on the edges of the wing. I need some thick lines because I needed to look stronger. I needed the wings to look a little bit stronger than just little insect wings. So I'm going to show you a little video of how I made this part. Now I put the last step in 50% opacity so you can see it under this step. And basically what I did on this one was created these middle lines, half of the ones that I already had before, half of this one, so it will be something like this. And then you can take half of how long they are. You can break it into here and here, and then you make this little kind of curve shapes. So I'm going to show you how I did these little parts right here. Now we need to add a little bit more of randomness to the sketch of the wing. So notice what I did here. I took what I already had with the lines we did before, and in some places I made it thicker, like in here. Here I made a little bit thicker too. Here I made a little bit thicker. So basically I just joined this line with this one. And I added some randomness. If you notice, some of the lines I made them curves. Here you can see that. So basically you just got to think a little and make the lines less predictable. I made this little one here, and I do this kind of lines here because it helps me understand the shape a little bit more. And I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it really helps me out when I'm doing something and I want like to know the direction that I'm doing these little lines, or the direction of the shape, even if it's If I'm working with something that's supposed to be a cylinder, what I will do is just making lines like this, and this will kind of give me the idea of what the perspective it is and stuff like that. So this really helps me out. So now let's see why these little lines. Now, for the line art, it only takes time to do. So what you need to do is put the sketch in another layer, make it maybe 50%, 40% opacity, and then with the hard brush just make the lines. And basically it's just making the drawing based on the sketch, but it just takes time. It's a slow process, but you should never skip it. If you want to achieve a great painting, line art is really important. So I would definitely not skip this step, and please be patient while you're doing it because it just takes a lot of time. And that's it. For the base colors, I just took the line art and put it at 50% opacity on the layers. Then I painted the base colors, which are these ones. I painted in 100% in another layer under the line art. So line art is one layer, and then I painted the color in a layer under that one at 100%. Then I made the layer of the colors 50%, which is what you can see here, and then created a layer on top between the line art and the color layers to put these other ones. I started applying the brown one, and then I made some little shadows here with the black, but it's a really subtle effect. So now I'm going to show you a little video of all this process. For the highlights, you need to know where the light is coming from. So it will be something like this. It's coming in this direction. And what we're going to do is that we're going to use two colors for the highlights on the thick part of the wings. So I made kind of like a soft highlight color with this one, which you can see here. And then in the brighter spots I use this color. For this part of the painting I used a hard brush. Let me pick the one. This one. It's a hard brush. What happened with this brush is it has shape dynamics to be thick in the center but not too much in the edges when you lose the pressure on your hand. And it doesn't have other dynamics or transfer, so it doesn't have any opacity. And basically what I did was just take this color and using 30%, maybe 20%, let me take out the shadow on the layer. Basically just paint a soft layer with this color. So you need a transition from the center to the edges. The edges need to be soft, the center needs to be harder. So once you have your center more defined, you can put the other color, which is going to make it even more brighter. It's going to be something like this. Also, the technique I'm using to make this is by repetition. I'm going to be doing small lines like this, but one on top of the other. So that's how you get this kind of result that I did here. In the wings part, notice that this part has more light to it, which means that the light is concentrated in this side. That is because if you look at the wings from the front, it will actually have this shape. So it receives more light in here. So this part have to be brighter than everything else. Here's a little bit brighter too. So in this part I use 3 colors, but this one was to make, the darker one was to make a little bit of shadow. This one right here, if you can see, I have these little shadows here. I just made few lines like this. And then I made the blending of the highlights with the layers. I created a new layer, took the darker color of the highlights because I used 2 colors for the highlights. And then same technique that I use in the other part, using 20% on the brush, I created this soft kind of specular kind of highlight. Then I made this layer to be maybe 30%, 20 or 30%, depending on how you see it. I can make another layer later and put a little bit more of that color on top, and you can start to see the soft transition on the colors. And this one I leave it at 100%. Then what I do is, if I want a brighter color, I use the white one, but this one is in another layer, and this is really going to be 100% with the brush, so you can get that full amount of light in there. These lines work in some cases, in other ones don't. You can see here that I actually burn out all this part because the highlights here should be even more intense. And I did all this with the same technique, by repetition. little lines. Then if I want more color in that, I just put more lines up on top of it, and then a little bit more on top of it, and that's the way I get the transition from transparent to full amount of color. To kind of recreate the iridescent kind of material, I just put a few colors coming from these different directions. Blue from the left, purple coming from the right, yellow from the bottom if I'm not mistaken, and from the top also yellow but with a little bit of green. And it's basically the same thing as the highlights. You just paint how you think the light is coming from that side, but you're going to use the exact color that you put it coming from that side. So here I'm trying to paint everything that touches the right part, or where I think is going to be highlighted by the right light, which is purple. I paint it of purple. Everything that is going to be lit by the left, I want to paint in blue, and that's the same thing to all the colors. And what you get is this kind of weird material that looks like, I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of bubbles. You can look for big pictures of bubbles in internet, and you get this kind of really crazy colors on the surfaces. Also you can see this kind of coloring on the insects wings and stuff like that, or a fly eyes or something. So that's how I made this effect. I hope you like it. The next step is, as fairies are really little characters, I noticed in some pictures of insects that the highlight have these little points, these little dots. So I try to recreate that, and it's basically just that. With a hard brush, make little dots where the highlights are, and you get these little effects. Looks really cool. I'm going to explain you really quick for the next effect that we're going to do. how to make chromatic aberration really easy with the channels. So the first thing I need is to see the channels, what you can find in here. You can, in the layers window, in the panel, you can click on channels, or you can go to window, channels. So what we're going to do is we're going to select one channel, in this case the red one, but you can see everything turns gray because we are seeing each channel separately. So this is all the information in red, all the information in green, as you can see in here, and all the information in blue. Combined, they make this image. So we're going to select the red one, but as I click in here, if I click the little eye in here, you can see all the channels together, but I'm only selecting the red one, as you can see, because it is in blue color. So what I'm going to do with that channel is go to filter, blur, motion blur, and what's going to happen is that we're going to distort only that channel, and you can see this little effect that creates. Let me make a zoom. You can see it puts little colors. I'm pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl Z again so you can see the difference. Here is without it, and here is with it. He creates this little line, this little blue line, this little red line here, a little bit of orange because of the difference in the colors. And this effect, depending on where part is applied, I mean like where part you're seeing, because it have more information in red or more information in blue or green, you can see a lot more difference. This is the same effect that we're going to apply to our wings. So for this last step, basically what we're going to do is just add some effects, and right there I just use a color and then put it in kind of a layer that burns the painting, which is color dodge or linear dodge, or it could be a screen. You can use those kinds of layer to achieve this almost the same effect. It has little differences, and right now basically what I'm doing is just creating little dots in the air to kind of make it look like a fairy dust. So that's it, and I'm going to put some more color on it. So see, you can see me applying the color and then putting the kind of layer, which is the screen I'm using at the moment, and you can see how it takes some color. And now I'm going to put even more dots because I think it needed more magical touch. The dots I made it on linear dodge kind of layer, so it burns everything that it's in the bottom, every layer that is in the bottom. And at one point I made them a little bit more kind of like a cross looking instead of just one dot. And you can see how if I paint the same dots on top of the wing, it looks more white, but if I paint them outside or in a darker surface, it looks of another color. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching this episode, and please stay tuned so I can say a couple of things to you at the end of this video. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. Hey guys, what's up? I know how important to you is to paint the skin. So I made this little guide of about 20 pages that it comes with all the skin tones, it comes with all the line arts, it comes with all the textures that I made for these tutorials. And it comes with two videos, one about how to paint female skin and another one of how to paint male skin. So if you want to support this channel, this is the best way to do it. There's a link in the description. This is the preferred way for me because I feel like I give you something back for your donation. So if you want to get this material, there is a link in the description. The only thing that when you done the payment, you will have to wait for a few minutes for me to give you the link to your email personally, because I write you personally to give you the link, because I have to check on the PayPal account for the email or where the payment is done. So I will personally send you a link to your email. So if I take a little, don't freak out. It's totally normal. I have never failed to deliver one of these materials. So thank you very much. If you are interested in getting this material, just use the link in the description. And thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and you're helping me to create more content for the channel. Thank you very much.